r/AskScienceFiction. Precious says, Marvel Drive. Doom owes you a favor. What's the most beneficial and secure request you could make of him? You're just an ordinary person in Marvel, and by chance, you managed to save Drive. Doom's life. He acknowledges your action and tells you, for saving Doom, you are owed a favor. Ask, and Doom will grant it. What would you request from him? Right Blind says, considering how happy his citizens seem to be, I wonder if he'd be open to offering me dual citizenship. 911 Rufus says, I want him to cure a disease Reed Richards can't. I want him to demonstrate his superiority over Richards by making the world a better place in a way Richards never bothered to. Hellcraptum says, lifetime pass to the best water park in Latvia. Not the biggest one. The best. Sweet Strategy 46 says, probably to join him and ask him to train me, might as well because how exciting can life be without joining his life? Clawbite says, I went to MIT, so I'd ask for a donation of funding and unencumbered techniques to my school. If he wants to do so, by finding the Doom is smarter than Tony Stark Professorship of Engineering, go ahead. DG2793 says, I want my finances taken care of for me and my future children. Dino Chicken Safari says, please humble that smug son of a biatch, Reed Richarda. PM Meerkat's Tits says, ask if I can live in his basement and swim in the pool. Sunder Red Valley says, honestly? Well and truly? Blueprints for a surface to orbit vehicle and a version of it that's ready to use for myself. Reed/Stark/Blue Marvel/Challer aren't sharing their Spaciflight technology, which has repeatedly led to issues whenever there was some type of invasion. J. Sarad 40 says, don't ask for money, Luke Cage already tried that. Brinier Clock says, I'd ask for access to a Doombot as a tutor explaining that I want to get smarter, but I'm too dumb for Doom to tutor. Thus the next best thing in a Doombot. Augustus Javasmo says, a reward only Dr. Doom's great genius could provide, to be injected with a perfected super soldier serum that would surpass all others including the Golden Sentry serum. A humble request for saving the life of the one who will save us all. Supercalifragilism says, a thank you dinner. Man can cook, and you don't need to worry about too many unexpected consequences. Primity Afgad says, I would ask him for his helmet. Scene Perfect says, having the honor of being useful to you is boon my lord. One Stellovan says, I think I would ask him to grant me a mild healing factor. Nothing flashy. Just something to keep me in great health for a century or two. Dig Sucks Now says, can we meet up once a year, just to catch up? I'll buy you a beer. Dragon Whisper 56 says, ask him to help pay off your student debt, or put your kid through college. It's mundane enough that won't make him mad, but isn't insultingly simple. r/AskScienceFiction. Efficiency Serious 200 says, Rocky, why was he so terrible at boxing? He's been doing it for a very long time, yet he's still really bad with his punches. Cheo's Music says, he never needed to be a technical fighter. When fighting other amateurs he won simply through strength and stamina. He was a brawler. When he fought Apollo, most people expected him to lose in the first or second round. Through conditioning and willpower he lasted to the 15th. He lost on points, but he proved he could go the distance. In the second and third movies, they focused on making him a better and smarter fighter when stamina and willpower wouldn't be enough. Parson Projects says, he mostly got by on natural ability and pure stubbornness. Against fighters like Clubber Lang, he had to learn technical skills. Bubinus says, In the first two films it's established that Rocky isn't a fighter, he's a brawler. In the absence of any real technique he relies on brute strength and raw determination. This wasn't because he was convinced of his superiority, but rather that he never took boxing seriously, which is something Mickey said to him on more than one occasion. Once Apollo Creed challenged him, things changed a little, but Mickey understood Rocky's natural fighting style. You got heart, but you fight like a god ape, and, given the shortness of time available to train him for Apollo's fights, decided Rocky had a better chance if he focused on what he could do, rather than train him in an entirely different fighting style. He was right. Rocky was able to maintain his title easily. If nobody could beat Apollo except Rocky, then it stands to reason that nobody could beat Rocky either, until Clubber Lang came along. Like Rocky, Clubber is a brawler who depends on brute force more than anything else. He's basically an anti-Rocky and even says, "So as much, he's tailor-made for me, and he's gonna get hurt." When it's brawler vs brawler, then it comes down to strength, and Clubber had it all over Rocky. Even if Mickey hadn't been hurt, Clubber would have won that fight easily. Things changed when Apollo stepped in as Rocky's trainer. Apollo understood that Clubber couldn't be defeated unless Rocky changed his style, and under his training Rocky stopped being a brawler and started being a fighter. Rocky still had his physical strength and fierce determination, but now it was supplemented by superior boxing skill. In the past, Clubber had fought people with that combination before, and in fact he walked into the ring thinking it was just going to be a replay of their first fight. Clubber lost simply because Rocky outclassed and outsmarted him. His fight with Drago wasn't a boxing match, it was a show of heart. Ultimately it didn't matter what Rocky threw at Drago. The point of the fight was to show that no matter what Drago did, Rocky would still be standing. That takes heart, not technique, which is why we didn't see a lot of that in the final fight. We don't talk about Rocky V. The lack of any substantial technique in Rocky V was easy enough to explain. Duke spells it out perfectly. To beat this guy, you need speed. You don't have it. And your knees can't take the pounding, so hard running is out. And you got arthritis in your neck, and you've got calcium deposits on most of your joints, so sparring is out. So, what we'll be calling on is good old-fashioned blunt force trauma. Horsepower. Heavy duty, cast iron pile driving punches that will have to hurt so much they'll rattle his ancestors. Every time you hit him with a shot, it's gotta feel like he tried kissing the express train. And that's what happened. So ultimately it isn't that he's bad with his punches. I mean, yeah, he generally is, but what's driving those punches matters a lot more than the punches themselves, except when the punches themselves matter, as in his fight with Clubber. JSZ100 says, in universe, he's quite skilled. r/AskScienceFiction. Dino Striker 56 says, Death Note, what counts as a real name? We know nicknames and pseudonyms don't count, but by what criteria does the book decide what name is real and what is not? Lockitcham says, the name in which you are legally known by. If you change your name legally, then that becomes your new name, and so that would need to be the one written down. Rorano Pedro says, there is no certain way to tell unless you have the eyes of a Shinigami. You can mostly assume it's the legal name as it is written, but if for any reason it's not, say, if you don't have documents, or you have any other identity related complications that might justify your own question, then you have to check with a Shinigami and simply ask them what are they seeing above your head. We cannot tell, because we don't have Shinigami eyes, so all we know is that while there is an objective answer, it might be under rules we are not familiar with. Tornico says, I would go with the name you want to be used when people talk about your true identity. Equivalent Yak 8215 says, your God-given name, aka the name your parents gave you and that's printed on your birth certificate. You can call yourself whatever you like, but the book only cares about the one name. Katim says, I think people are approaching it the wrong way. It's just the name with which you identify with at your core. If you've literally only ever known yourself by your nickname, then it's not a nickname. It's just your name. For the vast majority of people, especially those seen in the series, this is the legal name. People take a lot of stock in lineage and legal systems, and it's going to be hard to shake that. L is known as L to almost everyone, but deep down he still knows the name he started with and formed the core of his identity. Doesn't matter whether it's on a birth certificate, might not be, he's hinted to be an orphan, or whether he uses it on forms. He still has a surname that internally he knows to be his name, and it would take an incredible feat to shift that fundamental belief. To purposely associate with a nickname and leave behind a name you know to be your original would take a psychotic amount of willpower. Spider-Man would be Peter Parker. But Batman might just be Batman. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.